Welcome back to the World's Dirtiest Workshop and the not-so-World's Dirtiest work table. You probably remember me buying these really cheap Amazon handguards, and I've decided that they're just a little small. So, I did some research online, and I found out that what I really need is polycarbonate. That's the best material. It's, 10 times stronger than acrylic? What you want to do is lay out the parts and start making lines. Make the shape as simple as possible. You can see here I've drawn some lines through the middle. I made sure that these parts are the same size. That really helps. So once you get your measurements right and you've just made some angles, apply some blue tape to make sure that when you start cutting that you don't go over the line. The lines can get blurry and visible. You know, when you're older, you miss stuff. So use blue tape. Then you can grind off the edges and even, round off the corners a little bit and do it properly. I even marked where the holes would be with the blue tape. But what's really important is that you use a relatively sharp Sharpie. You want to get the Sharpie thin enough that you can make really accurate cuts. I put a black line in here to show where I'm going to bend the part. Polycarbonate can be bent with a heat gun. It can be bent cold, but a heat gun might be the thing for me. So we're going to give this a whirl and see how it comes out. I'm going to post this video and you can check back with me later and see what happens. I think it's going to come out really cool. Okay, we're going to try and flip this around on the camera. It looks upside down to me, and this one over here, I don't know if it's in focus or not. This is we're going to take that and turn that down. Okay, welcome back. This is a plastic cutter. This is a piece of wood. I have a ruler underneath. I've got it clamped to the polycarbonate. And what I'm doing is I'm just dragging the cutter gently across the polycarbonate so I don't accidentally leave my line, which is right up against the ruler. One of the biggest problems with cutting polycarbonate is making an accurate line. And that's all about patience, really. You make a dozen cuts and snap it once. Now I've purchased really big cutting knives and really messed this up because I didn't have a ruler and I didn't have a clamp. And I wasn't pulling it very straight. Now once I get all these passes here, I'm going to go back and recut that and snap it off. I can really feel how deep that's getting. Oops, wow. Missed it there. So that's an example of missing the line. Wow. Really screwed that up. So yeah, I'm going to see that. More than likely. I'm going to have to take the sander to that. So easy to miss the line or to get off the line. I'm going to come back at it from this side and pull it through. Make sure that the ends are really deep. I don't want that one pass to be the point where it breaks. That would be really bad. Okay, let's take it off the clamp. Wow, that makes me so sad that I missed that. Let's put it back on the wood the other way. So easy to mess that up, I tell you. And we're going to try and clamp it again. And break it. Let's try using a ruler. Boy, it really doesn't want to break. Stuff is super flexible. There we go. And it looks like it broke on the line, so that's great. Okay, so even though, I messed up the line here, this is on the brake side. So you can see here, on the other camera, I messed up the line, but this piece is garbage. I'm going to use this piece as a test bend piece for the heat gun and see how that goes. So that was a great break. Let's keep doing that and finish up. What you want to do is you want to keep cutting until this falls apart. Otherwise you risk leaving a little piece of plastic there on the end. Same thing over here. There's a little piece here on the end that isn't quite right. But we're going to keep going, and this is going to be a real success. Catching the blue tape a little bit on this one because I didn't give myself enough room with the ruler to make the passes, but once I get started it's okay. Now I noticed with the last break, even though I pulled the edges a dozen times, it wasn't enough, and I still got a little bit of a break off the line. Not bad, but it was enough to, tell me I need to do better. Now, for those of you with OCD, counting the number of passes does help. So it really doesn't matter so much that I got sloppy, because this side that I'm getting sloppy on is the waste side. And I've got my guard, my wooden guard, in place so I can't screw it up that bad. Okay, so that came off really nice. That's really good. On this piece, I can do one more cut. I can check the fit. I can drill the holes, and I can start bending. This is wonderful. Okay, I think that that's going to be adequate. And I hope we're in focus here. I'm going to try and stretch this out a little bit. Seems to be that the moment the blade gets stuck, that's when I know I'm all the way through. Okay, so I don't want to peel off the protective coating. I want to leave that on, but I do want to probably snip it off. And then we can test this on the motorbike. This is great. Okay, that's going to be roughly where it's going to be, and that's the rough size and shape. When that bends over, that's going to be a lot further away from the mirror there, but I think that that's going to work. So let's finish cutting the other one, and maybe I'll post this video as is, and we'll get the rest of it later. If I lay them down right over top of the holes that I've marked for drilling, they look like they're in exactly the right spot. Huh, that kind of looks like a bra. You have to get the holes right and kind of get it tilted correctly, and this is what it's going to look like after. Isn't that cool? Much bigger, much better. I'll put some bends in it and it'll really look great. Now what I could do is I could tilt it down a little bit. So, you know, there's a couple ideas as to what I want to do with it. I might want to move them out some, so I might want to put them out there. All kinds of crazy ideas, but now I can play with it and have some fun with it. That's what this is all about. Modding and having fun. So this is what it looked like before. The handguards don't touch the windshield, which is great. I mean, they're fine. It's just that they're a little short in terms of vertical height. So I need more wind protection at the top of my wrists, and that's what this is all about, making things better. It's noisy as hell, but that's not half bad. Okay, looks like we're set up and we're ready to go. Blue painter's tape is a great tool. You can use it to not only protect the surface of whatever it is you're working on, but you can also use it to gauge your sanding depth and whether or not a particular edge is straight or not. Okay, you still need a straight edge, but while you're grinding or sanding, you can see just how curvy a surface is. And I'm going to show you that right now. So let's find one that doesn't feel right. Maybe that one. Okay, yeah. Okay, there's a little bulge there. So I'm going to try that surface right there. Yeah, so let's move that up so everybody can see. Try to get it in the middle of the shot. And we're really close here, aren't we? Wow. Okay. Okay, so this piece, is looking a lot better. Let's get a good shot of that. Okay, so that's looking a lot better. That really is. Okay, so that's all cleaned up, and I'm going to put this piece away. And then we're going to start bending, heat bending and cold bending. I need to run some experiments on this material to see how it will behave given the heat I apply to it. One of the biggest mistakes people make with this stuff when they're just starting out is they have no idea how hot this stuff needs to be, and they generally overheat it. Sometimes they boil it, literally, and you get bubbles in the material, and it really messes up the surface. There is gas trapped inside the solid, and you can boil that gas out if you're not careful. You should allow this material to off gas a little bit. You can bake it, and that'll help. What I'm going to do is probably take some test pieces, remove the plastic. This is the plastic that's on the surface, and see if I can bend it, see if I can bake it a little bit, see if I can maybe off gas it a little bit. Not that I can prove it, but I can at least try. And then I can try and heat it up and bend it and see if I boil it. If I boil it, then I gotta rethink how I'm going to work with these pieces here. So I don't want to screw these up. I want to work with some test pieces. So where did I put those? Okay, so here are my test pieces. So I'm going to start cold bending these and heating these up and playing with them and seeing what I get. Thanks. just for laughs, let's see if we can cold bend the material. So we'll start with the narrower end here. Just going to put it in a vise, and you know, the protective coating is still on it. But I have to be real careful. I don't want to hurt myself. So let's use this just in case it snaps. That way I don't wind up going to the ER again. It does bounce back, you know, almost 50% of the bend. So I bent it over all the way, and it looks like we're almost at a 45-degree angle. So that's going to be your spring back. You have to, you know what that's going to be for the material you're working with. Okay, so this is the test bend. I just want to peel that away and see how that looks. So I've got the vise marks in it, you know, so I'm going to have to use a piece of wood. And is it broken? No, it's actually pretty solid. Let me change the view on this so you can see it a little bit better. Okay. Doesn't seem to be cracked in any way. That cold bend was pretty successful. That's now at about a 45. So yeah. So that's okay. Test number 2. I have the insulated plastic still on it. I have sandwiched 2 wooden blocks between my vice grip jaws, and I'm going to bend this over. And I'm not afraid of it snapping now. If this was plexiglass, I would be. So I'm cold bending that. I'm going to try to put my thumb right there on the corner. Make sure that that bends right there on the corner. And that springs back to about 45, and I'm going to take that out of there and see what that looks like. Let's see if it looks a lot cleaner. Yeah, that cold bend looks great. So cold bends for this material are fabulous. You can expect about a 50% bounce back. So if you bend it to 90 degrees, you can expect it to bounce back to a 45. Okay, so this is looking really good. When you bend it to a 90 degrees, you can expect it to bounce back to a 45. And I'm trying to get that in focus there. That's looking really good. Let's try bending a bigger piece, just to get a feel for, how it's going to bend. I'm going to mark it. I have a feeling it's going to bend, about, I don't know, 3/16 above the line or something like that. So it'll bend above that line. And I'm going to try and bend it over and do it with my bare hands here. Ready? Here we go. So that requires a lot more force. You can see that just doesn't want to go. That needs a clamp. Some kind of metal surface to make sure that that bends. So let's try and put the T-square on it. And bend that all the way over. So we're just bringing it back to about 45 degrees again. Alright, so we bent that, and it bent a little over 1/8 of an inch above the line. That's not bad. On the inside, it bent about a 1/16 above the line. So let's see if we can get this in shot and in focus. So there we're about a 1/16 above the line, and there we're a little over an 1/8 above the line. Let's peel it off and take a look at it. So that's a very clean 45-degree bend. This will work. So I can do some of my bending, on the vise, and it'll come out pretty nice. This is great. I went to Lowe's and got these Jurgensen bar clamps. They're really terrific. One of the biggest problems with C-clamps is you spend all day spinning them out and then spinning them back in. With a bar clamp, you have this little movement here, this lever. So if you release the clamp, you can pinch this little metal plate here, and when you do that, it releases the clamp and then locks it down. So one more time, and then you can tighten down the clamp. So great idea. I'm going to buy a few more of these, and that'll make my projects a little bit easier. I like them. Great product. I'm just tracing the hole from the paper. I made the hole a little small so the plastic will sit over the hole without falling through when it gets hot. So it will drape a little bit, and the drape is going to give it its form. And then I'm going to mark it left because I don't want to make two right sides. If you mark them left and you mark them right over here, I'm going to do two sides. Yeah, you want to make opposites, otherwise you're going to run into real trouble. So all I'm going to do is carefully peel a pattern up. Don't use masking tape for this job because you probably will wind up tearing your pattern. And then we're going to flip the pattern over to give it a true opposite, right? Well, it worked. So the next thing is to cut these out, and I'm going to have to get a big drill bit or something and just drill through. And what I'll usually do is I'll drill like 4 holes, and then I'll jigsaw between the holes and then grind away the interior. I also got to get a saw to cut this off so this piece isn't so large. Then I have a spare scrap piece for the next 10 years. Get a hole in your sandpaper, just rip out the hole, wrap it again, the trick is to get a decent shape just on this side. You don't need to be perfectly 90 degrees all the way through. In fact, you probably want a little bit of a taper on this. Before I got too crazy with this thing, I needed to run a test. When it comes to polycarbonate molding, failure is expected. So, what I did was I made a shape, the best shape I could. And this is going to be a gravity mold or droop mold, whatever you want to call it. And I'm going to heat it from below and above and let it droop. And when it gets to the right shape, I'm just going to let it cool and then cut around the edges. So this is going to be a lot of fun and very easy. I have the other side ready to go. It does need a little cleanup work to make the edges smoother and rounder. What I found was the finishing part, getting it really smooth and round and without any kind of wavy parts around the edge, that takes a while. You really have to work at it. And you don't want to grind down too much to get it outside of your pattern size. So, this is a lot of fun. It's very easy, and I think everybody should try this. Because I didn't want to set my work table on fire, I decided to mount it up in the middle of my workshop. Just using some, sawhorses here. They're made of plastic, but it's not a big deal. 2 pieces of 2x4 and the mold, which is plywood, right? So I've got my wife's toaster underneath, which is just a kitchen toaster, simple 2 pieces of toast. And I've got my heat gun over here, and we're going to give it a whirl. Let's see what happens. Before we begin, one little thing. When you first take the protective cover off the plastic and you're in your workshop, static electricity will attract dust at a distance. What does that mean? Okay, so you took the plastic cover off the polycarbonate, and suddenly it has a charge. And anything with an opposite charge, which is floating around in the air, will just go right to your workpiece. And yeah, that's what I've got right now. Let's take a look at that. I broke the mount when I was working with the broom handle. I whacked the camera so hard that I stripped out the threads on the mount, so I have to hold it with my hand. You can see there all the dust that was attracted pretty quickly. So I'm going to clean that off. Have you ever had this inkling, this idea in your head that it was a good idea to touch your workpiece while it's hot? Here I have a very cheap Porter cable heat gun. It's like a powerful hair dryer. It has a high and low setting. Real simple. See if my cord will reach it. Oh yeah, that's going to work just fine. So I tested my cord length, and it's going to work just fine. One of the things you're going to need is your wife's toaster. You're going to put this under your workpiece. Start with it really far away and then raise it up to get it closer to your workpiece. The next thing to do is to line up the toaster and start it. Did you hear that? There is a toaster down there. And I'm testing it with my hand to see how hot the toaster's going to get. Now, I think I'm going to need to put that toaster on a box, like a toolbox or something, to get it up closer to the workpiece to get more heat on it, because it's not really baking my hand as much as I thought it would. The toaster oven is now 6 inches from the workpiece. Let's get this show on the road. Look at the reflection. Can you see that? I warped it. Great. This is working fabulous. Can everybody see my kitchen toaster down there? With all the bread still in it? This is going to work out great. I'm going to love doing this. So for the second run, I'm going to screw down the polycarbonate plate at its 4 corners. A little tip, when you're pre-drilling the plywood, drill out the polycarbonate a little larger than the hole that you're running the screw into. That way the threads of the screw don't blow out or destroy the polycarbonate. So you don't want it to break. Another thing is increase the torque slowly on the drill. Don't just crank it down with the drill on its highest setting, or you could damage the polycarbonate again. Alright, let's do this. The last thing you want is for your project to deform in the wrong direction. So make sure that you got your toaster oriented in the proper direction. Okay, let's turn on the breaker. Come over here and do a quick toaster test with the toaster a lot higher up. Let's see what we can see. Try to get the light on it. Is it moving at all? Yes, it is. It's moving. Ever so slightly. This happened very quickly the first time. Let's get the heat gun on it. That is working pretty darn good. That's beautiful. That's what I was looking for. That's got a really nice curve in it. Yeah. That's awesome. It's pretty even too. That has a really nice curve in it. I really think that this is going to work great. Wow. That has a really nice curve in it. Last night, after everything cooled down, you can see that the panel has returned to its original shape. And I have a little bit of a warpage on this side. But we're going to give it a whirl again today. It's about 56 degrees outside. And the surface temperature is 57. Okay. So the toaster has been turned all the way up, just making sure that it is. Yep, there it is. It's turned about halfway. And we are about 4 inches from the panel. Let's see what happens. Now we're going to do it without the heat gun because I think what was going on was the heat gun was cooling down the surface versus what the toaster was doing. So the toaster did a pretty good job of melting the panel. But when I applied the heat with the heat gun, it was actually less heat than the toaster. And the panel stopped deforming, which was an interesting problem. Now you have to keep in mind that it's a little cooler out now than it was in the garage, and there's a slight breeze. So is it deforming? I can smell the toast burning, so I definitely have power. I'm looking for the heating elements to, yeah, they're on. Yeah, now I can feel the heat coming off the toaster. Let's see what the temperature is. (101) on this side. Can I get a reading off the other side? 125 underneath. So is this going to be close enough? No, probably not. It's only 125 degrees underneath. So that first test didn't work at all. Let's try it again with the toaster a lot closer. Let's say about 3 inches away. We're at about 110 now on the surface. Now polycarbonate takes about 400 degrees to melt. So let's give this a minute and see what's going on. It's possible the heating elements aren't glowing bright red because it's a little cooler outside than a typical room. So we're at 124 degrees. So that's probably not going to be enough. I'm not seeing any movement at all. So this is certainly going to work better in a warm room than what's going on right now. We're up to 170 degrees, not even close to what we need. So I know the toaster works without the heat gun indoors. I moved this outdoors because my wife made a cheese sandwich in the toaster this morning, and I was afraid that I'd, set the garage on fire if I tried to use this again. So, safety first. If you think there's a fire risk, bring everything outside. $190 degrees. Probably not good enough to do this because that toaster is going to pop and we're going to get 190 degrees surface temperature. Can I get a reading underneath? $279 degrees underneath. We're close. We really need to be about 350, I would think. And the toaster popped. How hot are we? We're about 200 degrees. Right after the toaster pops, so it cools down really fast. The proper method for using the unit is to squeeze the trigger, target whatever it is you're targeting, and then release. And you'll get an accurate reading. The unit does remember whether or not you've turned on the laser or turned off the laser. That's a handy feature. Let's try the toaster and a little open flame.
I get my finger on the shock here.
That's working. I'm running out of gas. Try. Okay, the torch just ignited in my hand, and I had to toss it. Yeah, that's really great. That just kind of went off in my hand and engulfed my hand. I'm okay, but this is why you do this kind of stuff outside. One of these torch designs can be very dangerous when it's low on gas. Can you tell the difference? This older style unit can burst and engulf your hand in flame when you're low on gas. So if you're going to choose a torch, choose this style. Let's try again with the toaster moved up, a little bit more than an inch under the surface. So we're going to give it one more shot. Should start getting real pliable very soon. Okay, now it's moving. Oh, and at the moment it started to move, it started to boil. Okay. Well, that's the kind of failure I expected. And there goes the toaster. So let's take a look at that. One of the problems I encountered is when the toaster is this close to your workpiece, you can destroy the toaster. So this is nothing like what I saw in the garage. So outdoors it makes it a lot harder to mold, and you can create this kind of a problem. So indoors, okay. Outdoors, gets a little trickier because you have a steady breeze and it can be a lot cooler out. Here we are back at the world's dirtiest workbench. After nearly setting my toaster on fire and nearly setting my left hand on fire. Oh, okay, I set my left hand on fire. Now we have this original pattern, which, we got the size from, the size of the hole we needed. Then we tried to do some melting, and clearly, that did not turn out quite the way I had planned it. But I did expect to fail. The good news is I could get this out of the mold. I could remove the nails, I could unscrew it, I didn't break it, I didn't stretch anything too much in the wrong direction, but I did get some warpage along the edge, which is something I want to avoid. What this says is if I'm going to be doing this kind of molding, I need to really clamp down the whole edge. So the whole edge has to be clamped down. If I don't do that, I'm going to get warpage. When you're heating and cooling, this plastic has memory. It will stretch during the heating process, and then when it cools down, it will shrink back down to a certain degree. And depending on, where it had moved the most, it might come back the most in the wrong way. Just because the material has memory. But I didn't damage the strength of it. I mean, it's really pretty hard still. So the material is solid. If I could, mold this without boiling it, I'd do a pretty good job. I did not destroy the original patterns. They're still here. What I do have is some cardboard sheet. Now, what I could do is I could bend it this way, and I could fold it, or I could, bend it this way, right? I could also fold it. So let's say I wanted to put some kind of a flap in it. I could take it and kind of fold it from corner to corner. So what we have is something like this for a guard, right? And if I tried to bend it here, I'd have problems. So what I could do is I could snip right here, okay? And if I did that, let's say I did something like, like this. So let's say I just did this. All right, so what I could do is I could make this kind of a thing. So I'll show you the edge there. I could make this kind of a thing where I'm just kind of sort of welding the last inch of it together. And I could do the same thing over here. I could create a bend the other way by, cutting a notch out of here and bending it the other way. And I could do that with a lot of success because I practiced it. I knew what I was doing. And I have a lot of confidence that I can do that right without harming the material, and I could still drill through it and get the holes in the right place. So, there's hope. I will get this done. I will figure it out, and it will happen. And I promise I won't set my hand on fire again. Giving this some thought and taking a little time with the scissors, I've come to the conclusion that I can make a shape that, would have a certain degree of success. With a little imagination, you can make some simple folds. All you need to do is make a snip here on the end, mend it together somehow, make a fold here for strength, a fold there for strength, and you might actually have something that's strong enough to be a handguard, and it will actually have roughly the right shape. So this one I accidentally bent the wrong way and then had to bend it back. I made like two righties and I had to fix it. So that's actually not half bad, and that kind of has the curve I want. I might change that a little bit, but that's not doing too bad. So let's put it on the bike and see what it looks like. You can see here this mock-up is really terrific. This might actually work. If you're going to do something where you can actually ride it, try making your handguards out of this tri-fold foam board. This is something you can find in an art store. And it's, not that expensive. You can cut it, it's quick, you can use a razor knife, you can make yourself a handguard in 10 minutes and really enjoy it. Mount it up and ride it. Isn't that awesome? So, be creative. Try to work forward without stepping back. And you'll have a lot of fun with your projects. Ride it off-road, and you'll find that, successes like these are awesome. And you'll have so much more fun with your bike because you're not buying somebody else's junk. Don't forget, you can always modify and glue on extra pieces. Because in the end, nobody can make something as good as you. Okay. All right, folks, let's give it a whirl. Ooh, okay. Yeah, 200. 200 degrees, 500 degrees, 600 degrees! Woo! 700 degrees! I better shut this thing off. I'm gonna unplug it. Wow! Ah, crap. What the hell?